Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Thanks for supporting the community. Remember why you started.
We believe in this opportunity to work in Web3, and people coming in will be a massive shift.
There's a lot of opportunities that are not, they're lost, and their people's skills and their what they're really capable of doing is not able to be shined through right now.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems built on stacks, built on Bitcoin, and built on Web3. Today, we have a really cool conversation with the founder of Hermetica. And Hermetica is a Bitcoin structured product, and they have derivative products as well. So I had a chance to tune in to and listen to you guys talk on Bitflow's recent Twitter space and what you guys are building. I thought this is phenomenal, and I thought we have to have you on Zero Authority Live. Please come on, Jacob, and you're here now. So we're going to talk to Jacob about how did you find Bitcoin? How did you find stacks? Why did you start building Hermetica? Where does the name Hermetica come from? And before we get into all of those cool topics, Jacob, how are you, my friend?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me. I'm doing really well. Excited for our conversation.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks for making some time on a Friday. And we were chatting during the pre-session, and you said you're down in Panama. Don't hear that often from some of the founders. I know founders, we kind of I know myself included, my wife and I, we talk about like living around the world sometimes and in different places, but you're actually down there near Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. Have you been down there or made a trip down?
Not yet, but yeah, it's not too far away. I have to check it out at some point. El Salvador is definitely very interesting.
Are there people who believe in Bitcoin down there in El Salvador?
Oh yeah, and I think in El Salvador, yes.
I mean, in Panama.
In Panama, yeah. I mean, like every country, you have I would say a small niche community. I think that you have that around the world. It's not any different.
That absolutely true. So, wanted to ask you, man, before we jump into all these topics, what's your how bullish are you on the market here? Like, are we in a new bull run? Seeing all the meme coins and ordinals and NFTs going on a tear recently.
Yeah, so I think that I'm fundamentally very bullish. I've been tracking global liquidity a lot. I don't know if you've ever heard of that metric, but essentially, global liquidity tracks
M2, M1 money supply.
Yeah, so that's for the US, but that on a global base. So you have all the balance sheets of all the central banks, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then you also add on top the shadow monetary base, which is essentially all the intra-bank dealings and the big bank balance sheets. So you don't just have the money, because money is created from the balance sheet of the central bank, but also from the balance sheet of normal banks. Mm-hmm. If you put them together, you have essentially the global liquidity, all the money in the system. Mm-hmm. And if you track that, it's very interesting because there's a granular causation from the liquidity metric and the Bitcoin price. So Bitcoin price basically is very strongly correlated to that. So if you track the total money in the system, you can kind of anticipate the price of Bitcoin going up or down. And it's been going up significantly, and it's probably going to continue to go up significantly because China has just started printing a lot of money. They're expanding, so there's a lot of money coming into the system, which is really good for Bitcoin price.
You know, that's interesting you say that, because and I don't know who was the first one to come to this thesis. Do you know where it originated about this liquidity and Bitcoin? And because I saw it recently.
I have a hunch.
Who?
Do you want to know who I think originated with that idea? I think it's a guy called Satoshi. I think that's the reason why Bitcoin was created, essentially.
Okay, so what I was going to say is, I know Pomp on his newsletter, he was talking about it, and then what you're talking about, I never thought of. Now I've seen the M2 and M1 money supply, and a lot of people talk about that. But as far as like the whole global and the euro dollar liquidity, I don't look at that often. So when Pomp was talking about it, and then it was on Twitter, and then I tuned into a podcast with Raoul Pal and Tom. What's his last name? Tom Bliley, or I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was interesting because this was the first time I've ever heard this concept of Bitcoin is a live feed of liquidity in the global system.
Yes.
And that was
essentially the indicator.
I was like, damn, that's what Bitcoin is. Like, you don't have to look at charts on the Fred graphs anymore, or like go to TradingView. You literally
Bitcoin price
can look at the Bitcoin price, and that's an indicator of the global money supply.
Yeah,
Jacob, that blew my mind, man. That blew my mind.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? That's what's created, and it's even inscribed in the first block, right?
It is.
Chancellor of Bailout for Second Bank. It is custom built for this time where central banks are printing all the fiat into infinity. So I think it's gonna go up because, more money is coming into the system, so it has to go up, kind of, right?
It does.
So there's one really good source that I want to leave you with some alpha if you actually want to track this.
And if you want to follow Jacob, find his Twitter profile at Jacob_BTC. So I've been following you and Hermetica for a while, so just want to flash that and make sure people follow you, brother.
Yeah, thank you for that. And if people want to track global liquidity, because at the end of the day, if you can track global liquidity very accurately, you can actually trade very well, right? Because the price actually moves, is caused to some degree, and it's a leading indicator, so it happens before the price goes up. If you want to track that, there's a guy called Michael Howell. He writes a Substack called Capital Wars. It's $75 a month. It's not super cheap. Capital Wars. You could pull it up. Substack Capital Wars. Michael Howell. He's an ex-Solomon brother banker, and he has been tracking this, and he has probably the most accurate data on this that I've come across. It's absolutely fantastic. He publishes every week the updates and basically tells you what Bitcoin price is.
Is this it here?
I think so. Yeah, that looks right.
Okay. Capital Wars Global Liquidity Insights. Michael Howell.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, that's the best place to find the data.
Wow. Okay.
This data.
What's Michael Howell's background?
Yeah, so he's a ex-Solomon brother, trader and investment banker, and I think now he manages money and does a lot of research into global liquidity. So he has specialized in tracking global liquidity. He tracks all central bank balance sheets and high street bank balance sheets. And,
Jacob dropping alpha here, man.
That's real alpha. Like if you follow that, if you read that attentively, I think you can actually do well in the market.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, when I just kind of start hearing this narrative recently, I just thought, for the first time in human history, you have a live feed of global liquidity. Where else has that been capable? Like where else could you have seen a live?
I mean, it used to be gold, right?
Right.
That live feed used to be gold.
In some ways, is it still gold?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah. So gold is a monetary hedge, right? A monetary inflation hedge. And Bitcoin is a monetary inflation hedge as well, meaning they all are correlated to global liquidity. It's just that Bitcoin is an exponential gold, essentially. That's how Michael Howell calls it as well. So it just is a lot more sensitive because the market cap is a lot smaller, and it's actually trading 24/7 is a truly global asset. I mean, gold is too, but it's more sensitive to global liquidity changes. It's also hard capped. Like gold is not hard capped. Gold actually has a constant inflation of 2%.
Jacob, what's your background? Like, how did you come to find Bitcoin and stacks?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can go a myriad different ways of explaining it, but I'll try to keep it short. My background is as an entrepreneur, as a technologist, software engineer. But I started my early 20s building businesses in the developing world, mainly in Africa. And what I did is we brought eyeglasses to Africa, essentially. We were the first big company that produced and sold eyeglasses for affordable prices in a lot of African countries. I was mainly in West Africa. So that I did in my early 20s, which really exposed me to the developing world and business that was happening over there. It's very, very interesting. And also allowed me to learn how monetary systems work, because a lot of these countries are still controlled by Europe through the monetary system. And so I really quickly realized, or not quickly, through the years I realized if you really actually want to change the economic situations in a lot of these countries that, you know, they're very poor, you actually have to change the money. So when I came across Bitcoin in 2016, I was like, okay, this is actually a solution that can fundamentally change the monetary system. And it allowed me to put that one together. And therefore, I think that Bitcoin is the most important
what year was
technology
that, you
for
said?
2016.
2016.
That's when I stumbled across Bitcoin and just like fell in love with it immediately, really, and started just studying it full time. Yeah, that led me down the rabbit hole, like quite literally. I started studying every single thing that Bitcoin touches. So that is obviously computer science, cryptography, mathematics, security, economics, trading, that, like, you know, the whole gamut. And I started a Bitcoin mining company because I was like, what is going on here? How is this being mined?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? What's going on? There's some computers that mine some digital. So I started a mining company really to understand how it works. Mining is a really difficult business. I would not recommend that unless you really know what you're doing. And so that was a learning experience. And then I ended up at one of the major exchanges at Kraken. I worked there for a while, learned how the exchange business works. And then, yeah, I came across Stacks. My goal was always to build Bitcoin DeFi, because I think we need a financial system built on a settlement layer that is truly decentralized. So that is DeFi, right?
Right.
And so I think we need to build DeFi because we need the whole suite of financial products on top of Bitcoin, so that Bitcoin can be the next financial system. If there's no financial system on top of Bitcoin, how is it the next financial system? It's the next monetary asset, yes, and I think that we're on track to do that, but we need a financial system on top of that. Otherwise, there will be a financial system that appropriates that Bitcoin, like Ether, and you have to wrap it, or like an ETF, and you have to wrap it. Right? We need our own wrapping, like SBTC, that is decentralized and can't be tampered with. So I always wanted to build Bitcoin DeFi. When I found Stacks in 2021, I think, I was just like, this is the stack, no, the technology stack, no pun intended, to like build this. And so I quit my job and, you know, started building. That's been the last 2 years ish, and it's been really fun. I think we're just getting started here, right?
So when you started building, you eventually came to Stacks. What about Stacks like really intrigued you? Is it the narrative that, well, you I don't want to say anything that you might taint what you're going to say. How did you find Stacks?
Yeah, good question. I think what drew me to Stacks in the beginning was the builder community, and also I think the genuine, like, for example, I followed Munib, and he seemed to be a very genuine, honest person that wants to make Bitcoin better and has shown that through his actions. And I think him and the people that are the founders of Stacks are very trustworthy, good-hearted people, and it attracts the right other people into that community, right? They see the essence of it. And so the essence of the Stacks community is very genuine, very positive about building on Bitcoin, and very committed to that. And yeah, I think that's what drew me in. And then also the technology stacks. Once I started really digging in, and the technology stack is, I think, really good. I think Clarity is actually really cool. There's a really nice ecosystem of developer tooling now that makes building easier, right? And so there was the whole package essentially that drew me in. And yeah, I guess that's my answer.
No, that makes sense. From day one, because I remember the block stack summits from day one. The thesis that Munib and Jude and Ryan, a lot of the core group of people, even Brittany in the foundation, Mitchell, a lot of people still believe in the core belief, which is awesome to see that we're going to make Bitcoin more productive. And it's been fascinating to watch just the journey of different founders within this ecosystem. I remember when Arcadico was just launching and they were going to do self-repaying loans, and now they're ready to launch V2, and then you have Alex doing DeFi on Bitcoin and Stacks, and seeing that vision come to life. And now the all of the new protocols I've recently been talking to, I see a bright future where Hermetica will fit into this ecosystem, be another Lego block that's going to be really important, especially for perpetual swaps and some derivative products. Like, we need all of these things to build out the full vision of what DeFi on Bitcoin will look like in the future. So I'm just like, oh, I'm just constantly surprised with the level of founders in this ecosystem, with the level of I'll say the maturity. A lot of people are mature people, and for the most part, I've always seen people in this ecosystem be very helpful. So just to see you jumping in and helping others too with questions and stuff like that, that's been awesome, man. You're living the ethos of a Bitcoiner and sharing, and that's what it's all about.
100%. Yeah, I echo that. I think the community is super helpful, super open, super supportive, and that just makes for a good environment to build stuff.
How did you guys come to start building on Hermetica? Was it around, so you found Bitcoin around 2016, then start devoting more and more time and said, I just need to be around this ecosystem and start building something. Were you already kind of building some products as an entrepreneur and in different parts of the regions in Africa and Europe, and then finally made the switch over?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been always an entrepreneur my whole life, right? I think that, there's a bug, there's like an entrepreneurial bug. I had that since I was like 14, 13, even younger. And so I was like, when I was 13, 14, I had like an export business. I was like importing electronics from the UK into Germany and then reselling it and that kind of stuff. So I was always building something. I was always doing something. Mm-hmm. I can't help myself. That has taken many forms throughout my life. The African business was a manufacturing business and like a retail, like actual physical stores business. And so this is like a very different beast, right? Like building a technology company and building a protocol. But so how we got to that is essentially, I learned about Bitcoin, and I think we need to build the full stack of financial products on around Bitcoin. I'm a trader. I really enjoy using derivatives. I think the derivatives market is a very important element of a financial system. Oftentimes not really that much understood because it's usually mainly used by institutions. So a lot of the use is used by institutions. I think perpetual futures contracts are the retail version of derivatives, right? But the option market is gigantic in the traditional finance world. Mm-hmm. And so are dated futures, etc., and exotic options, OTC options, the whole underbelly of the financial system, or like the high finance, let's call it. And so our goal is to really bring this kind of financial infrastructure and financial products to Bitcoin. And that's going to take many different forms. The first form that it's taking is our vaults, which essentially give you access to sophisticated trading strategies that usually you would have to execute with a market maker. So you have to have like 10 million in your account, or you have to be a high net worth individual, you have to be an institution. We make them available, through DeFi. Anybody can get access to them, and then allow you to earn yield on Bitcoin. They allow you to express specific directional biases on Bitcoin without a lot of the risk that comes with other products. So you can, for example, if you're really bullish, you can go into one of our vaults and you get out, you capture all the breakouts on Bitcoin. So you can get a lot of returns on the upside. I think in the last bull market, it was like 50 to 60%, but you are limited in risk. So even if you're completely wrong and the market dumps, you lose 1% a week or 1% a month. depending on the vault that you choose. So you have the downside protection while regaining the benefit of whatever view you want to take. So these kinds of products is the first suite we're bringing to Hermetica and therefore the Bitcoin ecosystem. But there's a lot of other products that we have in mind, all centering around derivatives.
What will it look like? Will it be, or do you expect people to start with SBTC and using the derivative products with SBTC, and then over time use some native L1 Bitcoin and maybe some BRC20, or where do you see different tokens coming into play?
Yeah, we'll see what happens, right? There's technology is constantly shifting and evolving, and I think we're really getting to a place where there's a lot of, like, the renaissance of building is coming, right? And so there will be a lot of change in the next 2, 3, whatever years, and that's going to bring all kinds of opportunities for different tokens, different platforms, different L1, L2s, different ways to interact with L1. Right now, we're doing a lot of it on Stacks. I would think that it is a fantastic platform to do it. And there's obviously there's, I think, like 3, 4 different L2s have been announced in the last couple of weeks. So there's constantly new stuff coming. We'll see what the next iterations of Hermetica and our products will look like. But yeah, so we're just gonna adapt to whatever opportunities come.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just looking at Hermetica the last couple of days here. What could you do on testnet so far?
Yeah, so testnet has 2 of our vaults, but they're actually sunset right now because we're preparing mainnet launch. So all our dev resources are deeply into that preparation. But yeah, our vaults are very simple, really, from a user perspective. We have an earn vault, we have a leverage vault. So you can, for example, in the earn vault, you can select how much Bitcoin you want to allocate, you deposit it into the smart contract, and then that's really it from a user perspective. You track your position, and when you would want to withdraw, you withdraw. And this strategy has a 6.5% yield over the last 6 years in backtesting, right? This is not guaranteed yield. This is what the strategy has performed in aggregate over the last 6 years. It is a knockout option strategy. So you basically make money as long as Bitcoin stays within the range. It can fall and you make more Bitcoin. It can go up a little bit and you make more Bitcoin. But if there's a really big spike, you just lose whatever the option was bought for. That's 1% a month. So that's the defined risk of the vault. And if you keep your Bitcoin in that vault over time, it will accumulate more. That's essentially the strategy. We issue a token against the vault. So you're fully liquid. You can think of it as an LP token. So you put money into, you put Bitcoin in, you get an LP token out, right? That represents your stake in the vault. Now you can sell that if you want. There's going to be markets for it. But that price of that token goes up with the performance of the vault. So in 1 year, maybe the price of that token is 1.065, representing the 6.5%. Hope that makes sense. You can click in, there's more information on the website. But there's a lot of changes coming to it in the next, call it, 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
The layout is super clean. I really like it, and it just it's super easy to follow too. I really like sites that, and I think this is what we're going to see more and more of the Web 2 experience coming to Web 3, where the experience is pretty clean and it just looks really nicely formatted and it's easy to use, right? As more and more people get used to Web 3 and having Bitcoin and making that Bitcoin productive on L2s like Stacks, like Rootstock, like BitVM, I just think this ecosystem is just going to flourish, man. I'm really bullish on what you guys have built here.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. And 100% agree. I think we have to thrive to have a superior UX and UI and really make it easy for folks. And so that's what we're trying to do. If you want to learn a lot of the details, you can click in and really understand every single detail what we're doing. All this open source. You can look onto the Block Explorer and actually follow what the smart contract is doing. But if you don't, which most people don't, let's be honest. But it's nice to have that option, right? It's nice to verify yourself. But if you don't, you just have a very seamless one-click experience where you deposit, you withdraw, you have that token, you're liquid. So there's really not that much complexity to it.
What are some of the products you guys are thinking about in the future?
Yeah, so there's going to be more vaults. There's the Earn Vault. There's the Bull Vault. There's going to be a Bear Vault. We're not really that bearish right now, so we're not releasing a Bear Vault at the moment.
We still have 12 months of bulls here.
Yeah, or more. Who knows? Yeah. There's
if everything goes right.
Yeah, there's going to be a breakout vault where you basically can go long volatility on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just make money if volatility rises. And then we're thinking about also using futures contracts, not just options contracts. There's other strategies that can earn yield. And then obviously there's different assets. I think a stacks denominated vault is very interesting to folks. ST Stacks is coming online right now. So we have like a staked version of stacks. Mm-hmm. So for example, we're working on a vault where you can put in STX, so staked stacks, and then we use the rewards, which is like 6.5% at this moment in time, and execute an option strategy just with the rewards. So in the worst case, you just have your stacks back. But in the best case, you generate even more. You basically leverage and get even more yield on top of that. And that has, in the back test, has been performing really, really well. So we're excited about those kind of other strategies, other assets. And these are our vaults products. Then there's going to be other products down the road that not yet ready to talk about, but that we're cooking up.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
You'll be hearing about it.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Especially a lot of people, and like you said, a lot of people probably, they're not going to look into all of your security audits. I know I like to look and read through security audits. A lot of people will want an easy to understand way, like if they come to your site and just understand how can I use this product. Something that I always think about, and my co-founder Hado Stacks and he has kind of outlined this for me to help me think about it. Bitcoin miners, they need downside protection when the markets turn, and derivative products can offer that source of being able to protect their downside. Because if you're a Bitcoin development company and you're a Bitcoin mining company, you're going to want, and especially as we get into the future, more and more companies and people will hold Bitcoin as their personal asset, right? And assets on their balance sheet. You're going to need some type of protection, especially as we still have volatility in the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, 100%. That was one of the main drivers for derivatives markets to develop in the first place. Essentially, producers to be able to hedge the price, right? If you're like a wheat producer, and you're going to have this amount of wheat in 3 months, right? Because you can kind of estimate how much your crop is going to yield. Then you can go into the futures market and sell that right now. Essentially, you can sell a futures contract. That's where the name comes from. In 3 months, and essentially lock in that price right now. And then you don't have to worry about the price risk. You can just worry about your business, which is farming wheat in this example. And obviously, you can do the same with a Bitcoin miner. A Bitcoin miner has so many variables. I was a Bitcoin miner, so just so many variables that you actually have to contend with that are not necessarily in your control, right? You have the hash rate, you have the electricity cost, you have the chip cost, and then you have the Bitcoin price. 4 variables that are not really in your control at all. So if you can hedge one of them, that's pretty good. Nice, helpful.
What if do you know who what's his name? He was Da Vinci. Have you ever heard of Da Vinci? The Bitcoiner?
Yeah, of course.
The
Bitcoiner. I was like, yeah, Da Vinci, Leonardo.
Vinci. Yeah. Sometimes I'll look at his videos and I'm like, man, why couldn't I have seen these YouTube videos back in 2009 where he's begging people buy this Bitcoin thing at $1? And so kind of a few years ago he was talking about he started to mine Bitcoin because he wanted to get more involved, but then he realized it's just better to buy the asset and hold it. Is that something that you realized too when you were mining
Oh
Bitcoin?
yeah.
Like, you know what? I could sell all this equipment and get out of this game and just buy and hold.
Yeah, if you want to be rich, don't become a miner. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really hard business.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a competitive advantage, it's a perfect competition, global perfect competition, right? Because you have no advantage on a technology level if you're, in the US versus somebody in China. Really, the most important input cost is the power. So if you don't have access to really cheap electricity, don't even think about it. Don't, especially now. It's such an institutional game. So
Yeah.
a lot of it is also driven by access to capital, right? You have to be able to raise a lot of debt capital. So no, don't do it unless you know what you're doing, and then you're probably not listening to this podcast anyway.
Yeah, I think for the most part, if you're tuning in to Zero Authority, you want to know, how can I use the latest protocols? How can I make Bitcoin more productive? And that when we built our gig marketplace and we're working on the DAO Launchpad, and then obviously we have some social endorsements for decentralized reputation. We also
Nice.
thought about, where's the future of all this going, and that's what I want to ask you, Jacob. Where do you see the future going as we look out in the next 5, 10, 20 years? Of where will people be building more on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin L2s? Do you see a multi-chain world where Ethereum, Bitcoin, and the chain links and the stacks exist in this plug and play kind of system, and all the systems start to talk to each other, all the chains start to talk to one another?
Yeah, I mean, it's already happening, right? There's a bunch of projects that are doing that already. I think that there's going to be many amazing experiments that are going to be run and are being run, and there's going to probably be many more.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a lot more on Bitcoin, which is really exciting because more experiments means that we'll probably figure some things out, right? Which is great.
Oh, by the
Some will be
way,
great. Some
Bitcoin Apostle gave you a shout out with some prayer hands, and the
thanks.
orange square for ordinals, and I don't know what the carrot is, but I do know that's a lightning.
Yep, that's lightning.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Bitcoin Apostle. Appreciate it. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of cool stuff happening, and I'm bullish on all of it. Honestly, obviously, there are different different trade-offs. Right, Bitcoin has a different trade-off than Solana, etc. I think they're all valid in their own right, and the market will decide at the end what is the best version or the best solution for whatever use case there is. And there's probably going to be a bunch of different solutions for a bunch of different use cases. But I think we need the Bitcoin one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you envision Hermetica kind of expanding? Do you think the expansion will be more only towards Bitcoin L2s, or will the expansion be any Web3 blockchain that has the most users?
No, so we're definitely focused 100% on Bitcoin. That's our mission. That's our guiding principle.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever form that will take, right now it stacks. There's going to be other L2s. We'll have to see how that shakes out. It always takes time and energy to bootstrap new ecosystems, and they will come online in the next years. And so there's going to be a lot of other opportunities. We see the multi-chain world in the EVM world, right, or in the Ethereum world, different L2s. And so we'll stay open to whatever technology makes the most sense, and allocate our resources to that. But it will be Bitcoin focused.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so fascinating that we can be in this place today where, I mean, if you would have asked a lot of people 2, 3 years ago, and I've seen this early on in the last bull run, VCs wanted everyone to be multi-chain, right? They not only on stacks Bitcoin layer 2, but you had to be on Solana, you had to be on Ethereum, because that was the narrative, that only those chains are going to attract multiple users that have use cases for building on the L2s and building at the application layer. Now you're seeing where you don't have to necessarily go to Ethereum and launch on the deploy on the chain, right? You can be a Bitcoin first protocol. How crazy is that to see that narrative come to, because you've been here since what, 2016, and I'm sure like many Bitcoiners, we all believe this is going to be the final settlement layer of the global economy, and it's happening right before our eyes, man.
Yeah, we're actually building it. It's exciting. I'm super excited about it. I think we're at the very early innings of it, so there's a lot of more growth and upside to have. I think Asia is extremely excited about Bitcoin L2s and Bitcoin, building on Bitcoin in general. I think that's something maybe even that we're missing in the West a little bit, like how much actually there is already people that are super excited about it in Asia. A
Talk
lot.
talk to us a little bit more about that, Jacob. I think sometimes we all hear the narrative, well, China, obviously, they got rid of the Bitcoin miners, but I think that's one part of the story. I think it's more nuanced than that, where we know people in South Korea who are super bullish on Bitcoin and Web3, right? And that's why the whole kimchi premium is known.
Yeah, I
But
remember that.
yeah, yeah, but a lot of people don't understand. They kind of think, well, China kicked out the miners, but China isn't the whole Asia region.
Yeah, it's not. Asia is a lot bigger than China. There's also India, obviously, that is a huge part, and then also Southeast Asia. I think that also, though, in China, there seems to be a lot of easing in terms of what is allowed and not. I think that the Hong Kong authorities announced that they're going to be launching a Bitcoin ETF, even maybe even Ethereum ETF. So there's a lot of, very hard to understand what's actually going on in China, I think, from our perspective, unless you go there and you understand the language, you understand the culture. But I think that China is still playing a massive role. But what the interest that I'm seeing is maybe not necessarily just China. It's like, as you said, I think Korea is super, super excited, especially about stacks and ordinals and Taiwan, for example. And the stories I hear, I haven't been to Asia in a while, but the stories I've heard from other founders, what they see also in their traffic, etc., is that Asia is the majority by far in the
Mhm.
traffic. And
Wow.
so that's really, I think, underestimated and underappreciated in the West from a US perspective or European perspective, because we just don't understand it
Where
or
where are
don't see
you
it.
where are you seeing traffic come from for Hermetica?
So, I mean, for the testnet, because we haven't launched on mainnet, which will happen
Yeah.
in the next 2 months, on testnet, we have seen really all over the world. It's really
Okay.
fascinating. You go and you look at the stats, and it's like 90 countries or something like that. It's like, it's really mind blowing.
It's
But yeah,
truly
a lot of
truly global, right?
Philippines. Yeah. Truly global. Philippines, Russia, US, obviously, and then all kinds of African countries, South America, everybody. That's the beauty of it, I think.
It is. It's amazing. Do you go to any of the Bitcoin conferences or Stacks conferences? Have you been or plan to go?
Yeah, so I was at the Miami conference last year, building on Bitcoin, I think.
Okay.
And I'm most likely going to be at the Nashville conference in, I think it's June. Yeah, it's also
Okay.
going to be the Bitcoin conference. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to decide if we're gonna which ones we can go to. We haven't been to any in the past, and I've always wanted to get together with people. It's so cool to be in this virtual world where we're in two different countries right now, and we could jump on
Yeah,
and have our mics and podcasts. Right, that's so cool. But there's nothing like seeing people in person, shaking someone's hand, and
totally.
just like the amazing vibes where you get a bunch of people building things. Like it's indescribable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you should come and we can hang out. Love to
Would
meet.
love that, man. Would love to see you in person. We're getting to the end of this live stream now, and we're talking to Jacob, one of the founders of Hermetica, and Hermetica is building different derivative products built on Bitcoin, and it's built on stacks of Bitcoin layer 2. So this, I'm like I'm really interested to see the future development of where all this goes and how it all plugs in together. Do you have any insights into like how Hermetica will plug into different DeFi apps and how different users could experience and use these DeFi protocols in different ways?
Yeah, I think that one of the beauties of DeFi is that it's interoperable, right? So we can talk to the different other protocols, and we can take the assets that other protocols create and build on top of that, right? And so that's probably the first iteration of how it will look. Is, for example, Stacking DAO has STSTX, right? Liquid staking. So you put your stacks in, you get STSTX out. You stacking your stacks, but you also have a token that you can interact with other protocols. You can do stuff with. And so, for example, what you will be able to do in the future once we launch on mainnet is take your STSDX, bring it to Hermetica, and deposit it into one of our vaults, and then also get the benefits of that yield on top of STSDX, which then you get another token back, right? And you can do stuff with that token as well. So that is liquid as well. So it's like liquid staking on top of a liquid trading strategy, and then we can continue. But that's probably the very obvious and tangible interaction we have with another protocol, and then probably many more in the future.
Look at that TVL, man. This was started a month ago, and 20 million stacks already. That happened fast.
Yeah. That's an accurate description of it. Good observation, Zero.
Yeah, that'll be cool. It's taken a while to get here, and then for those who don't know, Nakamoto release is coming in. Stacks is going to have 5-second block times. Right now, it's tied to Bitcoin, and it's roughly every 10 to 20 minutes you get a new block, and that you have to be pretty patient to use Stacks. So with this Nakamoto release, I think a wave of new people are going to come in. What do you think the bull run is going to look like this time around, Jacob? With Stacks, with Bitcoin, with Web3 in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's always very hard to know, right? Nobody knows the
Right.
future. I think that I can tell you what I'm bullish on, what my portfolio looks like. Right? Don't tell me what you think. Tell me what your portfolio looks like.
Hey, not financial advice.
Not financial advice whatsoever. I have no idea what I'm doing. You should do your own research, all that stuff. But I think that Stacks is acting kind of like as Bitcoin beta, right? It's like a leveraged Bitcoin exposure. I think that the narrative around Bitcoin DeFi and Bitcoin L2s is picking up. I've been seeing the interest in what we're building and doing. I think the numbers speak for themselves. There's a latent, dormant demand. There's all this idle Bitcoin that wants to do stuff. And so we could see Bitcoin DeFi summer. I think there's a decent chance that we're already in it. It has already started. It's a very early innings. And so that will be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff happening, and in a good way. Got to keep our heads put on straight or screwed on straight. And it'll be fun. What other stuff will happen? We're all in this very small niche, right? There's other stuff that's happening, other cool chains that are developing, not necessarily built on Bitcoin and built on Bitcoin. I don't know. A lot of cool stuff will happen.
Yeah, I think so. How do you think about having a DAO around Hermetica and people participating in the growth in the community around Hermetica? What would that look like in the future here?
Yeah, that's a great question, and certainly something we are thinking about. It's not top of mind for us right now because we're just still very early stage. We don't even have a product out yet. So a lot of our resources are on that, and we envision a decentralized.
It's hard enough building on Stacks and building on Bitcoin. But believe me, we're building on it using Clarity, and there's so many things that you have to be patient with, and also when you're building on new protocols, some of the new developer tools are still new, and when you're using things that are new, I saw a tweet not too long ago where this guy was saying, man, I wish all the developer tools were already built and everything, and all these apps were already here. And I'm like, well, then you wouldn't have any alpha.
Yeah,
if
exactly.
Everyone's here, there's no alpha, right?
If it was mature, it was too late. There's not a lot of alpha left. I agree. So it's like the pain of being early is also the opportunity. I 100% agree. But yeah, it's not necessarily always very easy to do what we're doing right now. It's still very early stage, somewhat pioneering. It'll become easier, and then the price will probably be higher.
Price goes up, man.
More people come in, the price goes up.
Yep. And yeah, I started to say too, since I've been here, this is like the first time that I've seen liquid staking tokens. And so it starts with Stacking DAO, right? And Tycho at Zest and Philip at Arcadico are doing an amazing job. And then Lisa's going to come out. So Lisa is the liquid staking protocol from Alex. And so you're going to have that available. Papaya DAO's working on a liquid staking token, and they're doing some cool things, and a lot of people want to do some really cool things with SBTC, and then Ryder. So I know what's Frieger always had his stacking pools, because he was the very, very first person to do the stacking pools, and now that's going to be the fast pools, and so that's for liquid staking, right? And so we literally went from 0 to 1, and then we're going to have 4 overnight. And so I just see this it's going to continue to ramp up, and then Valar, Hermetica, Alex, Arcadico, Stack Swap. I mean, then we're going to have like some the primitive for DeFi, and man, I just see how this could be just so bullish for the whole ecosystem, man.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of cool stuff being built. It's still super early. I think that the next year is going to be really interesting to see all kinds of products come to market, work together, et cetera, which is exciting. Yeah, and that's what you want to see in an emerging ecosystem, right? Actually, new and diverse products.
Absolutely. Jacob, it's been awesome. Thanks so much again for taking some time on a Friday evening, late night, to talk about Bitcoin, DeFi, NFTs, ordinals. By the way, we really haven't touched on ordinals. Are you bullish on ordinals?
Awesome. Yeah, I love ordinals. Yes.
Do you hold it?
Why wouldn't you? Yeah. I have some.
Why? Unless you're a maxi, why wouldn't you be bullish on ordinals?
Yeah, but they don't like anything, so we don't even have to ask them for their opinion. Their opinion is always no. So
that's
all right, I'm not asking.
Next. I will say I've been surprised. I've seen some maxis coming around to say, who cares if you use a L2 and who cares if it has a token on Bitcoin? The more people use these things and make Bitcoin productive, isn't that what we all want? So I mean,
also at the end of the day, who cares what these people think? I want to build, and they can do what they want. I will do what I want.
Very true.
And I want to build. I really don't like, whatever. Like, people have opinions all day long. Things will happen. People will do stuff, even if you don't like it. Get over it. It's life. And so we'll continue doing that. And ordinals are fantastic because ordinals increase. One, they bring the Bitcoin building renaissance back. People are really excited about building again. And a lot of that is because of ordinals. Mm-hmm. People download wallets like Xverse Wallet, which is a fantastic wallet, and start, trading their ordinals because they're excited about it. Oh, it's great. That's a Trojan horse, essentially, because all those wallets can interact with Bitcoin DeFi on stacks. Wow, great.
Yes, absolutely.
And then on top of that, we're increasing the fee rate, which is one of the main issues we've been thinking about as a Bitcoin community, is how do we actually secure the chain post subsidies, right? Which is a real issue, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And the solution and the answer is more activity and higher fees. And that's what ordinals have shown very clearly. I think there have been blocks with higher fees than subsidy.
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic for somebody that's really interested in this chain, in this ecosystem, to be viable long term. that's fantastic news.
Have you been following the runes and atomicals and just like the development of ordinals at all?
Not that much. I don't have that much. I can't focus my attention to too many things, but
Yeah.
I think that runes I think BRC20 is fun little experiment. I think that the protocol is super inefficient and not really usable, not scalable. It's not really doesn't really make sense. There's no 20, there's no improvement protocol, right? There's no 20 in BRC20.
There's no 21, right?
So I think runes is probably I'm not familiar with the runes implementation, but I would imagine it to be more
I'm not either.
Smarter. I think it doesn't require you to it's a lot more efficient, let's say. That's how much I know. So I'm excited about that. I love what the ordinals people are cooking up.
Me too, man. It's been so fascinating to watch. Casey Rodamore had this idea, started working on it, and that's what we tell people, and that's where the name Zero Authority comes from. Like, you don't need permission to build, and so many times,
yes,
I've seen it. I've even experienced this myself, where you need to give yourself permission to build, and you don't need to feel like you need to ask anyone to do anything. You have,
especially not strangers on Twitter that scream very loud and have like a puritanic religious affiliation to a technology. You don't have to listen to those people.
Absolutely.
You can if you want. If you want to be miserable, go ahead.
You don't have to listen to them, man. And it's just been so refreshing to have this Bitcoin renaissance come back, and people feel like I can build on Bitcoin again. I don't need permission to build.
Yes, 100%. I love that name. I love that intention. That's really cool.
Thanks, man. Thank you. Before we depart, just wanted to give our audience a reminder. Hermetica, you can find them on Twitter at Hermetica FI, and there's the website. You can find them on Hermetica.
Yeah, there you go.
.fi. And
yeah, and I would add,
now, if you guys want to get some liquid staking tokens.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the shout out. And I would add, if you go to the website, you can like submit your email, and we actually send weekly emails to update you guys on what we're building, and also you would get on the wait list to be one of the first people to use our product that is coming out around Nakamoto upgrade.
Nice.
And will be very exciting. Also potentially collaborating with Stacking DAO. So a lot of cool stuff happening. Sign up to our email, stay in touch, and yeah, lots of cool stuff happening.
Well, thanks so much again, Jacob. This was awesome, man. Really excited for what you guys are building, and thanks for just being an all-around great community member too, man. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for the invite, and thanks for the awesome chat. And yeah, if any way I can support you guys, happy to. Really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Thanks for supporting the community. Remember why you started.